I'm so excited to share today's podcast with you. I was so thrilled when Sam Stewart agreed to take time out of his busy schedule to talk to us about Relief Crew Foundation.
I went volunteering in a refugee camp, and it was there that I saw very quickly that the skills yacht crew have can transfer into this humanitarian environment. It's the engineering, the carpentry, these sorts of things are very beneficial, but on a different level, it's just the mindset that yacht crew have as well, and it's that ability to just get things done.
It's a smart and inspiring initiative bridging the world of yachting with global humanitarian efforts, turning crew members' skills into real-world impact. Whether it's volunteering on the ground or offering yacht owners a meaningful way to give back, the foundation is all about using what this industry does best: adventure, logistics and connection, all to make a real difference. Sam, hello and welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Hi Lorena, how's it going? Great to be here.
Thank you. Yeah, it's good. I was just saying to our producer that this is a topic that I want to do so much justice to because it is such amazing work that you do. But I think just to start from the very beginning, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure, yeah. So I'm Sam. I'm the founder and director of Relief Crew Foundation, which is a non-profit that's connecting yacht crew with humanitarian projects. So I'm from New Zealand. I spent nearly 10 years on and off yachts before eventually stepping off boats just over a year ago to set up this foundation. And so far it's been incredible. We've had an immense amount of support in the last 12 months and achieved some really good things that we're super proud of. And now we're here talking to you.
Fantastic. So how long has Relief Crew Foundation been up and running?
So officially we've been going for just over 12 months, and we launched to the public at the Monaco Yacht Show last year in 2024, and that's when we really started getting underway with projects.
Amazing. So what is Relief Crew Foundation? What is it that you do?
So Relief Crew is a non-profit platform that's connecting yacht crew with humanitarian projects, and the idea is that we go out and we look for other non-profit projects that need skilled volunteers, and they need a little bit of capital investment to get their projects up and running. So it's the more grassroots projects that we're looking to support. And the idea is that we match those projects with yacht crew who are looking for more meaningful ways to spend their time off. So you've got crew that have this massive set of skills, from engineers to carpenters to people that are incredibly talented in the hospitality realm, and some of them are looking for more purposeful projects to spend their time off committing to. So the idea is that we look for those projects, we look for the crew that are into that, and we put them together.
Amazing. And what do they do? What do the crew actually do on the project?
So it's a voluntary basis that crew join our projects, and there's so many different skills that crew have, and that sort of dictates the different projects that we've been involved in. So to give you a couple of ideas, one of the most recent projects we've been in Ghana, in a small village in the north, and we were building toilets in a community that had no access to sanitation before. So all of the members in this village were open defecating, so using the field to go to the toilet. And the idea was that within the community, they pitched this project to have a toilet for every household within the community. And we got wind of this project, and we connected with a couple of different engineers, a couple of different crew that had already been involved with projects before, and put a team together, and we went to work alongside this community for 3 weeks. So the idea is it's a community-led project, and we're there to support them and what they're wanting to achieve. So we had worked previously in Morocco with a project that was similar to this. So we were able to come in with a bit of a blueprint of different toilets that we had made in a similar situation. And we were able to introduce that knowledge, that skill set to the local community and work alongside them. So in 3 weeks, we built 50 toilets, one for each member of, or each household in the community. And, that was a great example of yacht crew just being able to come in, use the skills they have had, and sort of tap into the logistics of a project as well and figure out, okay, in X amount of days, we're going to be building this many toilets in this area of the village, and we need X, Y, Z to make that happen. Let's make sure it's all in place before we get there. So the ball was just continuously rolling. And that's what yacht crew are so great at. So on the one hand, we've got these more construction type projects. And on the other hand, you've got a massive skill skill set from the interior crew that are well versed in hospitality. And to tap into that, we've helped set up a hospitality training academy in Lesvos, Greece, which is an island right on the border of Turkey. There's a refugee camp on this island, and we teamed up with a local NGO who was already running hospitality trainings, and we've said, okay, how can we help you level this up? And these are trainings for camp residents, so people that have been forced to flee their home, they're now living in the refugee camp, and now we're offering trainings on service, housekeeping, barista, kitchen food prep, you name it, basically anything that's connected with the hospitality industry. We've had a group of yacht crew put together a syllabus of how these trainings could operate. We had funding from within the yachting community to really transform this training center and include a few more crucial elements, a new kitchen that we can train from. We built a hotel room we could use as sort of a mock setup. And the idea is that now we're running trainings from in this warehouse just outside the camp to upskill residents from in the camp. So the idea is that when they're legally allowed to work, they can present to a restaurant or a cafe or a hotel a certificate that says, yeah, I'm not completely green, I've done a course in hospitality and I can do this. So there's so many different ways, that crew can become involved and we can tap into the different skill sets that crew have. In a few weeks, we're heading to Ghana again, and we're going to start building a school in the southern part of the country. So that's an 8-month project, an ongoing one. And there's really no end to the amount of projects that we can connect with and the different skills that we can utilize that yacht crew have.
Yeah, I mean, the world is in a very tricky place at the moment, aren't they? And there can be no end to the number of projects that are out there. And I guess you are, hitting some very, hard-hitting areas, refugees, climate change, war-torn countries as well, I guess. From a mental health point of view for you guys as well, that must be quite tough, some of the projects and some of the living arrangements that these people are living in.
I think that's definitely something that it needs to be taken into consideration when volunteering on one of our projects. That the mental health side of things is something we take very seriously. And it's true, I think when you come and volunteer on one of these projects, you have to be prepared that the circumstances you might be volunteering in are circumstances that you haven't seen before. And lo and behold, there is actually a lot of beauty in these projects as well. So, for example, this hospitality training center that we're connected with that's linked to the refugee camp in Greece, yes, the people that are students of this hospitality center are residents from the refugee camp, and they've gone through immense hardships to get to where they are now. They've been forced to flee their homes, and some of them will be pretty upfront about sharing their stories. And, as a volunteer, we're not psychologists, we're not mental health practitioners, but, we're humans. So at the end of the day, you still hear these stories and of course you feel for the people. But in saying that, the connections that you made and the humanity that comes from these projects is incredibly uplifting, and a sense of community and sense of resilience that you get from a lot of the people that we're working alongside is unlike anything that I've ever experienced before. And I think from a volunteer's point of view, that's definitely a positive. It's an incentive to be involved in one of these projects because, you get a real perspective on the world and how different humans operate and the lengths that people go to just to have a fraction of the fortune that we have, maybe being born in a particular country versus another one.
Oh, it's beautiful, Sam. There's no denying the work that you're doing is absolutely amazing. And I think, personally speaking, you read some of these stories, you watch the news, I mean, it's just utterly heartbreaking. And there's such an overwhelming feeling of helplessness when you hear these stories and you watch these, awful situations that people are in at the moment. So actually having projects that you can actually volunteer to help on just gives you that feeling of hope and gives the people the feeling of hope.
Yeah, you're right. The world is in a pretty crazy state at the moment, and I think it's easy to get bogged down by that and be overwhelmed with this emotion. Like, well, what can I do? How can I even make a dent in anything that's happening? But one of the volunteers on our last project, Tomo, I think he summed it up really well. And he said, I can't help everyone in the world, but I will help who I can. And when that starts on an individual level or one-to-one level, the difference can be massive. It doesn't have to be helping the entire world. It can be helping a small community, and just making a small change in someone's life, it can be massive, for the other person on the other end of that. So yeah, that's what we're trying to do. I think we have grand ambitions that we're going to really help, tens of thousands of people, and we'll get to that for sure. But at the moment, we're taking it step by step, and we're doing what we can with the resources that we have.
And it's early days, isn't it? I mean, if you've only been going for a year and you're growing at quite a pace, so in time, who knows where you'll be.
Yeah, I mean, that's the exciting part about it is to see the support that we've had just after the first 12 months from within the yachting industry. So that's crew that are putting their hand up to say, hey, how can I volunteer, or how can I learn about the next project? And also yachts that have come out and said, hey, can you help find us a project for our crew to be involved in? We're more than happy to support with funding. It's been overwhelming. I think there are already a lot of great altruism projects that are happening from within the yachting industry that are being supported by crews and yacht owners that we just don't necessarily know about. And, that's the idea, is that we're able to go out and find those projects and make it easy for yacht crew and for yachts to connect with those projects. Because I think people often have that desire. They think, okay, on my next rotation or my next leave, I'd love to get involved in a project, but you get bogged down on where do I start? As you've just pointed out, there's so much happening in the world. What's the lane that I want to help in, or where's the location? And it's very easy to get overwhelmed on the internet if you start looking at volunteering opportunities. So that's where we come in, and we kind of take the guesswork out of it. We go and we do the due diligence on local NGOs and the communities that they are supporting. We make sure that they're having a genuine positive impact, and we look through all the finances and make sure that donations are going to the right place. We make sure that the location is safe. We understand how to get there, what's needed before arrival, the visas, the vaccinations, all of that kind of nitty-gritty. Where am I going to stay? All of that stuff we do the pre-planning on to make it as easy as possible for other crew to go, okay, cool. That's a project that I can support because I know that relief crew has done the due diligence, and I know that, they're ex-yacht crew, so they understand my mentality and where we're at. And the thing from our side is we wouldn't put people into a project that I personally wouldn't be happy going to. So that's a big part of it, I think, is just making people aware that these projects exist and it's actually not that hard to connect with them.
So how do you pick the project?
It's a very good question.
Because there are so many, aren't there? There's so many people suffering in the world at the moment that, picking one must be quite tough.
Yeah, there are so many projects and so many communities in need around the world. And a lot of it at the moment is coming from word of mouth. So from my time previously working in refugee camps, I've got a lot of connections in that humanitarian world. So it's leaning on them to find out about the projects they're personally involved in and would they be a good fit for our volunteers. So we have a bit of a checklist for projects, and it's looking at, okay, what is the skill set that is required for this project? Does that match up with the skill set that yacht crew have? Is there a crossover there? Because for us, the big thing is we want to help a community in need, but we also want to make sure that the crew that are volunteering have a good experience. And so for us, it's really important to make sure that it's the right people are on the right project, because you could go to a project and not necessarily have the right skills to be there. And you go, okay, great, well, I'm in this location and I'm with this community, but I'm not doing a lot. So it just means that that's not necessarily the right project for you. And for a volunteer to have a good experience and for the job to get done to the best ability, we do a lot of due diligence to make sure that, we screen the volunteers correctly and we screen the projects correctly.
So tell us about some of the crew, some of the volunteers that are working with you at the moment. What kind of people are in there? What are they doing?
There's such a wide mix of yacht crew that are volunteering with our projects. So, for example, Morgs, she's a chief engineer. She's been involved with 2 of our projects to date. And from her side, she's on rotation. She goes home to her home in Texas once every so often. And then outside of that, she travels a little bit, but she's looking for what else there is to do. And I think that's pretty consistent across our volunteers, is they are crew that are a little bit more experienced. They've been on boats for a wee while now. They've used their time off to either go home or they've used it to travel the world. And now they're at a point where they're like, okay, what else is there out there? I'm interested in learning about new cultures and seeing new places, but I'm really keen to use my skills on a project with a purpose, because I think once you've been in the yachting industry for a wee while, you've developed this great skill set, but there also comes a point where you start to think, okay, how else can I use this? Where else can this be of a benefit to people that are in genuine need? So our projects attract people with that kind of a description, people that are a little bit more adventurous. They're interested in learning about a different community, working alongside people from different nationalities, different cultures, different religions, and open to a bit of an adventure, because that's what it is. You have to take a little bit of a leap, and that's kind of what's exciting about our projects, and that's the people that it attracts. So we've been so fortunate with all of the volunteers that we've had so far. I think there's been nearly 20 volunteers that have been involved in our projects, and all of them have just been awesome. I think that's the nature of this kind of work, or this sort of industry, is it attracts really special people. All of the people that have been involved from a volunteer standpoint have just been the coolest people that I would hands down have back on any of our reoccurring projects, and would happily see them outside of projects. And that's the thing, it's making connections, making friends outside of the boats or outside of your circle that you wouldn't necessarily have made before. These projects are bringing people together that are like-minded, and I can safely say that the volunteers that have been on individual projects, they've made friends for life, and they'll be in contact for a long time talking about the project that brought them together.
I mean, as a shared experience, it must be quite something to go somewhere to give people so much help and hope and support, to see the suffering and the struggle that these people have as a group. That must be quite overwhelming.
I think it's something that can bring people together. We're lucky when we go in with a group. For example, this last project that we did in Lesvos with the Hospitality Training Centre that was connected with the refugee camp. At the end of the day, we would go for a dinner together, and it was an opportunity for people to talk about what was hard during the day or what made them laugh during the day, and just to share those individual intimate experiences that they had with residents from the camp. And I think it's really important to be able to debrief and talk about the highs and the lows that come with these types of projects. And, having other people next to you that are going through exactly the same thing and can relate to it is really important, because when you do return to either your yacht or your home or continue traveling, it can be difficult to explain what you've been up to on a project with someone that doesn't know the exact ins and outs of it. And it's the same with if you work on a yacht and you return home and you try to explain your job to someone that doesn't work on a yacht.
Yeah.
You can kind of be met with a blank stare, and it can be similar for someone that's been on one of our projects, and that's why it's so great to have another group of volunteers that understand what you've been through and can relate and, can reminisce about the people. One of the great things that's happening after the fact of this hospitality training centre is we're being updated when residents from the camp get a job. And so far, there's been more than 15 students from that hospitality training that have gone on to be employed. And they're being employed in some of the best restaurants, some of the best hotels and bars in Lesvos, Greece. And every time we get an update from the local NGO filling us in on the group chat, it's great. It brings everyone back to that moment. And this was happening throughout the season. And the comment from a lot of the girls is, I was having one of the worst days of the season. We're 2 months in on a boss trip, and I've just got this news that Ali from Syria, who I trained in the kitchen, has got a job in one of the best kitchens in Lesvos. That's incredibly uplifting, and it sort of gives perspective to everything. And as you say, it gives a little bit of hope.
Yeah, no, it's amazing. I love the training aspect of it, because there are groups who help with the actual immediate issues of being a refugee, but to actually take it to the next level where you're actually helping them to move on and to actually get qualifications that will help them get the job and the finances they need to move on. I mean, that's just next level, isn't it?
Yeah, and that's what we look for in a lot of our projects as well, is how can this have a ongoing impact on the people that we're connecting with. And as you said, for that training centre, the idea is that it creates a pathway to employment, and that can lead to social independence, financial independence. And for people that are setting up in a new country after being forced to flee their own, that means the world. And people don't want to live on handouts. People want to feel as if they have a reason, they have a purpose to get out of bed in the morning, and they want to join a community. And that's also what this is doing, because in Greece especially, there's a huge demand for workers in the hospitality sector. So by creating a pathway to employment, you're also hopefully connecting someone that's from a refugee background with a local community. So you're bridging the gaps there. You're filling a space for employment, and you're also creating a connection between two different communities. So there's so many different flow-on effects from this, and that's the crux of the projects that we really look for is, how can this continue to benefit people in the long run? That being said, with the project that we did in Ghana, building toilets, there was so many different benefits that have come as a result from that as well. On the surface, it's a nice convenience to have a toilet that is connected to your home, so you don't have to walk 10 minutes to a field to open defecate, But we've just done an impact survey. So 6 months on from us being there and working alongside the community to build these toilets, we're now finding out, okay, what difference has this actually made in your life? And the feedback that we've had from the community is 100% of households have said that they have had a reduction in stomach problems. So by creating an environment that is healthier, it's had a reduction in stomach problems. Malaria is such a big problem there. Diarrhea is such a big problem there. So by creating a toilet and, eliminating a lot of those health risks, it means that kids are having fewer days off school and adults are having fewer days off work. And when you're living in a way that it's day to day, the way that you're earning, each day that you miss off work can have a massive repercussion. So, these flow-on effects, one of the woman who is the head of the women from in the Zazi community where we were working, she's come back and said, okay, it's great to have a convenient toilet that's located right next door to our house, but the dignity that comes with this as well from a woman's point of view, not having to go to a field and worry about, what's out there. Am I going to step on a snake at night? There's so many different aspects to it. Not having to leave the house when it's raining at nighttime and you're cramped over because you've got diarrhea. You can just go to your bathroom. These things that we take for granted, can really make an ongoing difference to people there.
And they really are things that we all really do take for granted, don't we? It's just an expectation that we have that we do have these facilities, and to be able to help people who don't is just amazing. What inspired you to set this up?
That's a good question.
Sorry to throw a random one at you, but it's quite a project, and something must have inspired you to start.
Yeah, I had reached a point with yachting where I was looking for something else, and I was trying to figure out how I could use the skills that I had generated from within the yachting industry and apply them in another place. And eventually I just ended up taking a summer off and I went volunteering in a refugee camp. And it was there that I saw very quickly that the skills yacht crew have can transfer into this humanitarian environment. It's the engineering, the carpentry, these sorts of things are very beneficial, but on a different level, it's just the mindset that yacht crew have as well. And it's that ability to just get things done. When things break on a boat, you fix it. And it's the same in a humanitarian scenario. You don't necessarily have all of the options available to you, but you figure out the problem. And yacht crew are very good at thinking outside of the box and thinking ahead of the game. What's going to go wrong in 2 days' time? Or, if I don't have this organized, what could the flow-on effect be? And trying to put measures in place to stop that. So, that kind of got me thinking very early on during my volunteering days, how could I connect more yacht crew with this? And at the same point, I was being approached by other friends from the yachting community saying, hey, we've seen that you're in a refugee camp. What are you up to? How can we get involved in something like that? So these things started to get the ball rolling and started to get my head spinning a little bit. And to cut a long story short, I ended up going back to work on the boats after nearly a year involved with this refugee camp. And that was when I had this idea for Relief Crew and was thinking more about how I could implement it. And I was on a hike one day with the owner of the yacht, and it was him and his wife. And I said to them, hey, I've got this idea about connecting yacht crew with humanitarian projects. From a yacht owner's point of view, what do you think of this? And the three of us spent about an hour and a half sort of looking at the different angles, and he came at me with a few different problems and figured out, okay, how could we solve this and what would that look look like. And the upshot of it was, at the end of the summer, he stepped off the boat on the last day and said, "Hey, Sam, get back to me about this project." And I think, when someone that's operating at that caliber and that level of intelligence and has got to that position says to you, "Hey, you need to approach me about this," you really need to approach them about that. So I went away and thought about it a bit more. In the meantime, there was an earthquake in Morocco, and I knew an organization that was working with the recovery effort there. And I put together a small team last minute from the yachts, and we flew out to Morocco, and we spent 3 weeks helping in villages in the mountains. And on the back of that, I was like, okay, there's definitely a model here that I think we can grow. And from there, I went back to the owner of the yacht that I was working on and said, "Hey, I really think we have potential to grow this. And it would be great if you were able to give me some help to get this thing off the ground." And we talked about this for a bit longer. And, he's a guy that's already involved in a few different altruism projects. He's a big time philanthropist, and he saw the vision and said, "Okay, cool. I'm prepared to help you get this off the ground." So been very fortunate that he's come in with some funding to allow us to have a couple of years where we can figure out, okay, this is how we can do it, and this is how we can make it sustainable, and this is the impact that we can have. So that was, in essence, the birth of Relief Crew Foundation.
That's incredible, isn't it? It's incredible. And if other yacht owners want to get involved, they can.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, we're dealing with a few different yachts at the moment where the owners of the boats are also philanthropists, and they're really keen to support their crew into these types of projects. So there's actually a few spin-offs that make it a really positive environment for the boats as well. I think the idea is that if your crew are interested in these types of projects and the boat or the yacht owner is going to support them, whether that is with helping with flights or accommodation or helping fund one of the projects that they're connected to, that crew member is going to be so connected to that boat from then on. I think you're going to find it very hard to leave. And that's the comment that we've had from a lot of the boats that we're working on. They'll come back from a project that they've done, and they'll say, like, why would we leave this boat that is supporting us to be involved in these kinds of projects? And with retention being such a hot topic in the industry, I think it is a really unique way to look at how to retain your crew. And it's the crew that are connected with these types of projects that are arguably the kind of crew that you would want working on your boat. So, and aside from that crew retention, it means that you're going to spend less on HR and recruitment. You get to keep all of the IP on board. So a yacht owner, if they're able to see that their crew are the ones that are directly on the ground helping with the project, then it gives some assurance that something you're supporting is actually having a genuine impact. I think people are bombarded with different ways that they could support projects all around the world. And it goes from yacht owners to people like you and I. Where do you donate? How do you support? How do I know that this is actually a worthwhile cause to get behind? How do I know that my donation is actually going to make it to the ground?
Yeah.
If you know that, okay, here's my crew that are actually on the tools on the ground. Well, case in point, there we go. It gives that confidence that the project you're supporting is actually a tangible one, and it's something that you can chat about with your crew when you're back together as well. So there's a few really great owners already that are like this, and we're also working with a couple of boats that haven't been involved in philanthropy projects before. So they've seen this model and they've come to us and said, okay, we're interested to find out more about this. How are other boats doing it? How are other boats connecting their crew with it? What does it look like from a logistics point of view? How will this work? And so we're able to sort of work them through a model that could possibly work on their yacht as well, using different aspects from different boats. So that, it's really growing, it's really catching on, and I think we're going to see more and more and more of this as other boats start to look at, okay, how else can we support communities in genuine need? And that's the crux of this thing, is we want to create an industry where yachting is synonymous with helping environmental projects, humanitarian projects, educational projects. So yachting has this positive image that comes with it. When people think of yachting, they think, okay, big white boats, but they also start to think, but they also help communities in genuine need.
Yeah, it helps close that gap, doesn't it? Because I guess, there could be some people that just see the wealth and not the help that these people do and can provide. The benefits are just bountiful, aren't they, for everyone's perspective. So what's the vision? What's next? What's the next few years bring for the foundation?
The vision is big. So the idea is that we're going to have projects running simultaneously in a lot of different areas. So if you are looking to support refugees or coral reefs or wildlife, no matter what it is that you're looking to volunteer with, we'll have a project that supports that vision and supports you to connect with an organization that's having a genuine impact in that area. So the idea is that, we'll have multiple projects running around the clock that crew can connect with. And, to go on with that, it comes back to what we were talking about. The idea is really to shake up the yachting industry and to make the yachting industry synonymous with helping communities in genuine need.
Amazing. So how many projects are you working on at the moment?
So we've got a couple of ongoing ones. This hospitality training centre in Lesbos is a recurring one. We've now got support from the yachting industry to fund that for the next 12 months. So, it's brilliant the way that the industry is already getting behind these projects, and that's come from, a funder that saw the benefit that it had on their crew, and they saw the benefit of the whole project and said, okay, cool, this is something that we really like to support further. So that's a project that we'll continue to run, we'll continue to support, and crew can dip in that. Probably every couple of months we'll take another group of crew back to being a part of that. We've got the school build in Ghana that is starting in mid-October. That's going to be an 8-month project, and again, we'll be involved with that over a couple of weeks of time for probably 4 or 5 visits throughout that. We're looking at projects in Mozambique, projects in Uganda, and also looking a little bit closer to home in Barcelona. So we've got a lot of boats that are here for the winter, and they've reached out and said, hey, we're really keen to help support, but we don't necessarily want to, or we don't necessarily have the capacity to send crew to Africa for a couple of weeks, for example. So there are a lot of projects closer to home that we can get involved with as well, and we're just doing the due diligence on a few of those at the moment. But the big picture is, we have more crew and more yachts that are wanting to get involved than we do projects at the moment. So we're making a big push to really find the right projects and to get those up and running so we can, open the gates for all of the crew that want to volunteer to be a part of it.
Gosh, so lots going on. So anyone who's listening, be it yacht crew, yacht owners, highly unlikely, but you never know, and the staff at yacht management, if they want to get involved, how can they help? What can we do?
There's a few different ways you can connect with us. And if you're crew, it's volunteering your time on the ground, your time and your skills, connecting with a project with a purpose. And the easiest way is to probably find us on Instagram, which is @Relief Crew Foundation. And you can connect through there, and you can join our emailing list, and we'll keep you updated as soon as we have new projects that are ready to launch. We put out a mail to everyone saying, hey, this is the next project that's coming up. It's going to be on these dates. It's these skills that are needed for it. And if you're available, you can apply to be involved in it. So from a crew point of view, it's your skills that we need on the ground in a volunteering capacity. For your owners, if you think that there is a connection for your crew, for your boat, we can definitely look at, any kind of project that maybe takes your fancy. For example, if you're connected with a particular type of cause, or if your boat is going to be in one part of the world at a certain time, we can look at, okay, what projects can we connect with in, let's say, the Galapagos or wherever it may be around this time of year, and have something prepared. So when you arrive, we can say, okay, cool, we've already done the due diligence on this project and this community, and it would be a great one for us to support together. When it comes to the yachting industry, again, if you're looking to connect with humanitarian projects, if you're looking to support crew who are doing the work and want to be associated with that, then all of our projects are looking for funding for materials. So it's a great way. If you're looking to support a project, we can definitely talk about that.
Marvellous. I feel some fundraisers coming along, Sam. I feel it. I mean, I don't know what to say. I said to you earlier, I know it sounds really cheesy, but I am actually genuinely honest when I say I am so amazed by the work that you're doing. And you watch the news on a day-to-day basis, and you do sometimes get that sense of there's no goodness left in the world. And then you talk to people like you. You're a shining inspiration, Sam. I know it sounds really cheesy, but you really are, of what people can achieve if they put their minds to it. We will certainly do everything we can to help support you in your work. And yeah, let's see how many crew we can get volunteering with you, and how many owners who are probably unlikely to be listening to this podcast. But you never know, Sam. You never know. You've given me hope now. So
Right. We're just grateful to be having connected with so many amazing crew and with so many different yachting businesses already. You know, their level of support has been huge, and you know, it really shows that this industry does have a lot to give, and there are people that are really prepared to support communities in genuine need. So I think for me, on a personal level, that's been one of the highs, is actually being able to meet and connect with so many amazing people that are looking to actually work in this type of environment as well.
And you're still a very young charity, so I mean, the amount of support that you've had so far, and you've only been running a year, the world is your oyster.
The sky is the limit, yes.
The sky is the limit, that's better. Well, thanks again for your time, Sam, and good luck with everything.
Thank you, Lorena, appreciate it, and we'll chat soon.